Good afternoon, and thanks for clicking on to the Tuesday edition of Vogan's European Outlook. Like and sure, if you haven't already done so, I would greatly appreciate that. This is the past 45 days, 2 meter temperature anomalies for really this is the period between the end of May and the right up until the 10th of July. And we all know the type of summer that we've had so far. So much so, actually, that Aidan McGivern of the Met Office put out this rather interesting piece of information yesterday showing that the UK summer so far has been remarkably cool by recent standards. And since the year 2000, only 1 year was this cool between the 1st of June and the 8th of July in the UK, and that is the period in 2012. He also goes on to say in the 1970s, 5 summers were as cold or colder up to this point: 71, 72, 74, 77, and 78. In the 1960s, also 5 years: 62, 64, 65, 67, and 69. So, in some respects, based on face value of the information put out by Aidan, it goes to show that we've had quite a lot of summers that have been as rotten as this one so far. And I think the problem is that we've been spoilt in recent times in terms of cracking summers. So I suppose it goes to show that this has not been the worst summer by any stretch, but it's been a long time since the last time we've seen something quite as cool as this has. And this is the mean temperature for the UK as a whole for the summer so far. And you go back, we had a modest flirt with warmth back at the start of June. Then we obviously had the warm spell at the end of June, but really overall, the past 45 days has been rather disappointing to say the least. We had a string of 1980s summers as well that were rather cool and unsettled and disappointing. Also, one thing I noticed here, by the way, as I look at the models, this is a little bit of an in-depth technical discussion today. I want to look at the prospects going forward and in search of seeing something a little bit more high pressure dominated and warmer. And I'm actually struggling to see that through the majority of the rest of this month, which really would be quite a big deal if we can go through June and July essentially the way we've been going. And I'm trying to find out reasons behind the type of pattern. We also have, of course, the remnants of Hurricane Beryl that is now moving up into the upper Midwest and engaging with a feature that's running across the top of Canada. That's going to fire up the jet. And I'm struggling to see where the jet stream is going to lift properly north as we press through the second half of July. Essentially, it's fairly flat, it's south displaced. We do have a split in the jet flow to the west of the UK and Ireland. One arm's going north and one arm's going south. And with that arm going south, but not far enough south, we're kind of in that kind of cyclogenesis area of upward motion where low pressure tries to develop, and we're struggling to shake that off. And do we see any fundamental changes taking place over the next couple of weeks? And unfortunately, I'm struggling to find that. So in today's video, we're going to look at something a little bit different. This is the GFS 850 millibar cyclonic vorticity and 500 millibar HPA height, as well as the 200 millibar winds as well. So essentially, this is kind of showing the cyclonic turning within the atmosphere seen by the model. It's showing the 850 millibar level and also the 500 millibar heights combined with the jet stream at 200 millibars. So this is a slightly technical look, but I want to show you why the pattern is kind of doing what it's doing at the moment here and why it looks as if it's going to struggle to break away from this rut that it's in. So if we look at the chart here, skip back just a few frames here, and you can see, let's skip back more than a few frames, in fact. So we've got obviously cyclogenesis at the moment here. We've got a very cyclonic upper air pattern over the UK and Ireland at the moment here. Remember, I made a mention of this split in the jet here. We've got one arm we've got strong winds at the 500 millibar level, racing across the south of Greenland here. If you notice here, the squeezing isobars indicate that we have got strong winds within the atmosphere at this level. Notice here that we have got a little bit of a reduction in winds here in this general region here, a few hundred miles to the west of the UK and Ireland. We've also got this split. So one branch peeling away from this main branch and dropping south into Spain and Portugal, if you notice here. And it's also seeing these strong mid to upper level winds here to the south of the UK and Ireland at the moment. And it's obviously within this region here between one arm, the northern branch and the southern branch, we've got an area of rising and cyclonic turning within the atmosphere. So therefore, this is the breeding ground to low pressure developing. But notice here this little piece of energy right here over the mid Mississippi Valley. That's the remnants of Hurricane Beryl. Obviously, a partial of warm air getting projected north. We've also got a lot of energy. We've got a lot of winds racing across Canada here. Very, very strong heat dome over the western United States, obviously. But notice here as we play through, pay close attention to this feature here. A little bit hard to see, I appreciate that. But this is trying to show you a couple of different aspects that kind of go into the overall pattern and the reasons behind the type of pattern we've got and the reasons behind the potential pattern going down the road. Now notice here that as we see Beryl moving through the eastern portion of the Great Lakes here, we've got this strong westerly flow. There's the Bermuda High. Notice here that the high within the mid-Atlantic here, we've got one piece over the western Atlantic known as the Bermuda High. The other piece is the Azores High. The Azores High typically is what influences our weather. Now the problem is that it's actually on the western side of the mid-Atlantic ridge, the Bermuda High, that is tending to be stronger than the Azores High, and quite often you get that one high pressure cell is stronger than the other. And at the moment, we've actually got the Bermuda High that is the strongest within the mid-Atlantic ridge overall. Now, as we continue to play through, I want to show you something here. We've got some energy and we've got a disturbance running these very strong winds here racing across the north of Canada. Beryl is going to interact with this feature here coming across Canada, and then what it's going to essentially do is it's going to reinvigorate a partial of air that is going to have an increased strength of jet stream winds. So we've got a jet core that is essentially racing off the east coast of Canada here, and back behind that we've got the warmth associated with Beryl. We've got a disturbance running the jet flow across the top, engaging with the remnants of Beryl. And what this is doing is essentially it's forcing it's almost like reinforcing the pattern that we've already got at the moment here. But with these strong winds accelerating off North America, there's the strong 600 decameter high Bermuda Ridge that essentially Beryl is running around. What we're seeing is we're going to start to see this buildup of pressure here to the west of the UK and Ireland, forcing a new system to develop here within the jet core itself. And you notice here that what we're doing is we're seeing a developing area of low pressure because of the resistance of this buildup of pressure to the west of the UK and Ireland. So it's a complex situation going on at the moment here. We've got multiple areas, multiple features that we have to look at, and you're trying to join up the dots. We're trying to fix this puzzle within the atmosphere to understand the movement and how the evolution is changing going forward. So you notice here that we've now got a very strong jet stream racing across the western portion of the Atlantic Basin. We've got this buildup of pressure here, this resistance, this stone in the water, so to speak, to the west of the UK and Ireland, forces this area of low pressure to develop. We've got also the jet moving into the western portion of the North Atlantic here. Look at, there's no Azores high pressure, you notice here. We've actually got a piece of high pressure that is kind of self-built, self-originated due to the upper air situation that we've got in place, the various stones within the atmosphere. And then, of course, just like a river, it forces the air to move in a certain direction here. It splits one piece goes one way, one piece goes the other way due to these atmospheric boulders. And what we've got here is we've got a buildup of pressure here to the west and northwest of the UK and Ireland. That is going to be what settles the pattern down into the course of the weekend here. But it's saying as we go forward, you notice here that we've got a lot of energy associated with what's going on over North America, then going to shape next week's pattern. Does this make sense? I hope it does, because it's quite a fascinating thing to look at here. This is obviously off the GFS. There's multiple runs, slightly different starting points, and slightly different outcomes as a result of those different starting points. But you notice here we've got a lot of energy going on at the moment here. We've got heat building up the western side of North America here. We've got cooler away up in the north of Canada. We've got a jet stream in between. We've got a strong 600 decameter area of high pressure over the Bermuda region of the North Atlantic at the moment. That is all sending this strong winds crossing over the North Atlantic here. But with this boulder in place, we're forcing the jet north, up into Iceland. We're forcing the jet south into Iberia with a cyclonic turning to the west of the UK and Ireland. Essentially, what I'm getting at here is we're keeping the jet stream to the south of the UK and Ireland well into next week. And unfortunately, if you stay to the south of the jet, you're in the cooler air, and therefore it's harder to get the heat that we've got over Europe to lift northwards here. So you notice here that as we go into the day on Sunday, this is 18Z Sunday, for example, the jet stream is roaring across the Atlantic. We've got that boulder within the northwest of and north of the UK. That's forcing this area of low pressure, by the way, that developed here late this week into the weekend to start to move southwards. But notice here, it's getting pretty darn close to the UK and Ireland, if you notice, and the jet stream is staying to the south. We've got more energy running across the Atlantic here. The remnants of Beryl will be embedded within this, but you notice here we're having a hard time getting any sort of proper warm heat into the UK, settling things down, shutting down the westerlies, shutting down low pressure, shutting down rainfall. We're struggling to see that happening because the main area of high pressure over the Atlantic is actually over the western Atlantic. And we've got this kind of split flow situation going on in the northeast Atlantic here near the UK. So therefore, as we continue to play forward, the only saving grace may be that with this jet, we could try and nudge it slightly further north. You notice here by the time we reach Saturday the 20th of July, this is a long way out, obviously, but we have got an area of low pressure that's a little bit further north. We've not got this split, if you notice. We've still got strong westerly winds crossing over the UK and Ireland, but with the position to the south of Iceland, we may have an opportunity to try and lift something a little bit warmer into the UK and Ireland. But warmer with this type of setup is not necessarily warmer and settled across the board. It's more like you've got this still low pressure dominated pattern, but you've got the opportunity ahead of the system to lift warmth northwards here. So yeah, it's a frustrating situation that I don't think I can see us breaking any real time soon. And unfortunately, it's actually Beryl that's part of the reason for that. So if we skip back here, right all the way back, you can see here Beryl moving in, catching the westerlies, running up into the Great Lakes here. It picks up a feature that's crossing Canada. There's the jet core becoming strong, exiting eastern North America here. We've got this buildup of pressure to the west of the UK and Ireland here, forcing the jet to split. So there's that high building north of the UK and Ireland. There's that developing area of low pressure in resistance to this high, forces all this air incoming off North America, feels the resistance, then the air piles up in response to that. One piece of the jet goes north, but the secondary piece is the main branch. The strongest winds within the jet stream is to the south of the UK and Ireland. And unfortunately, with the position of this high, it's actually cycling cool air in from the northeast as we progress through the course of the weekend. So as we continue to play forward here, that area of low pressure then is flirting with the UK and Ireland, holding back to the west. It may try, well, you would think it would try and pull warmth north, but the jet stream is actually essentially too strong, going from essentially west to east and stopping any warmth from the continent from lifting north here. So this is essentially the situation that we've got. Then as we play into the middle of next week, look at the position of the high. We've got it to the south of the UK and Ireland. Therefore, we don't have a great opportunity to see anything particularly warm. Continue to play through, and you notice here that, as I already said, with a system up towards the northeast Atlantic here towards next weekend, so this is not this upcoming weekend but the following weekend, we may have an opportunity with low pressure becoming more dominant just to the south of Iceland. We may try and pull the jet a little bit further north, but one thing to notice, that the jet is continuing to bring westerly winds on the whole into the UK and Ireland, and we've got this buckling effect taking place towards the end of the month. I hope that makes some sort of sense to you. But you can see here that this is the upcoming 7-day period of this is the GFS control, by the way, today. Notice the complicating look in this chart. This is the mean sea level pressure, by the way. And there we've got the strongest heights within the mid-Atlantic over the western side of the basin. We've got that build-up of pressure with the split jet seen even at the surface here. We've got this area of low pressure just to the north of the Azores. We've got the one piece of the branch going north between Iceland and Greenland. The other piece is going essentially down towards just north of the Azores here. But if you look at the upper air chart, you can see what's showing up here. So obviously with this area of low pressure in the southwest of the UK and Ireland, and the strongest jet stream winds in this region here, not to the north but to the south, that is essentially shutting the door to any warmth coming in from Europe here anytime soon, unfortunately. And also it means that low pressure is never far away, especially across more southern areas of the UK and Ireland. Higher pressure across the northwest tends to feed cooler air in from a north or northeasterly direction. So this is the period now between the 9th and the 16th of July, by the way, and this is the mean sea level pressure. Let's have a look and see what it's showing in terms of the upper level pattern. And you can see similar idea reflecting in the upper levels as the low levels here. We've got that area of high pressure to the north. There's the main branch of the jet here crossing the southern UK, shuts the door to any heat from Europe. Notice here that we've got low heights, not strong heights, low heights over Greenland here. And with this kind of block in between the UK and Greenland, that then kind of traps this area of high pressure in place. Looking at precipitation, there would be no real surprise that we actually have the wettest conditions across more southern areas of France, northern Iberia, for example, the driest conditions further north and northwest over Scotland, possibly Ireland and Northern Ireland as well. So we've got the wettest conditions coming into the southern UK and then lifting northwards due to the core of the high pressure between Scotland and Iceland here. So yeah, I don't unfortunately see any real heat anytime soon. Let's have a close-up look at this view for the upcoming 7 days. There's no point going on beyond the 7-day period. I think you've digested, hopefully, enough information for now. But this is the 7-day anomaly, and given the current situation here, south displaced jet, what's going on with Beryl over the Western Atlantic, the split flow, and obviously with a high position to the northwest of the UK and Ireland, you've got the cooler than average anomaly here. So obviously we've got the cold anomaly so far, June and through the first 10 days of July, another 7 days of this here. I can't really see July being even close to normal in terms of the anomaly, and given the overall pattern, I can't really see any change taking place either. So yeah, we're going to have to be patient, I'm afraid, folks. And this is the latest sea surface temperature anomalies of the CDAS data. Notice the core of warmth versus the cool pool to the west of the UK and Ireland here. No real change in the overall situation here in North Pacific. We're starting to see slight changes taking place. We're losing that cold PDO signal, if you notice. And the La Nina, it's kind of struggling at the moment, I must admit. So we'll look at La Nina in a little bit more detail going forward. But anyway, that's it for today. I think I've spoken long enough. Let me know in the comment section below. Did that make any sense? I hope it did. Like, share, and subscribe. See you tomorrow with more. Bye for now.